and welcome everyone to the opening session of the second week of our Legal Fest webinar series. I'm your host, Bodnár, and I'm delighted to introduce you to today's presenter, Eszter Bodnár, who is a law professor and a certified coach. Her mission is to support legal professionals in building purpose-driven careers, businesses, and lives. Her presentation is titled Redesign Your Legal Career, and she's going to talk about a proactive and reflective approach to career planning through the lens of design thinking. We encourage you to use the chat and the Q&A functions to ask your questions throughout the session, and join us for the remaining online events of Legal Fest, both today and tomorrow. We will provide you with the necessary links to do so. So now, without further ado, I will hand the floor to Eszter. Eszter, welcome and thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much, Benedek. It's really a pleasure and a privilege to be here. I have been following the Ars Bonis activity actually since it was born, and you really have a pioneering role in Hungary and also in the region in this field, and a very important mission. So I'm really happy to be part of that. So as you heard, my name is Eszter Bodnár, and it sounded like a very straightforward career and introduction, but in the reality, this is not so simple. So the path until now was not so straightforward. And this is me in 2006, right after the graduation in my first legal job. I was working in a public service, and as you see, you can recognize the attributes what we think about a lawyer. So the suit, the suitcase, the glasses, a very serious job, and super happy and confident lawyer there. And little did I know what will happen after that in the next 20 years until now. I remember that in my first job, I was so excited about going to work that every Sunday I packed my bag and get ready my clothes, so to be ready for the Monday to go to work. So that is the feeling that I'm looking for in all my jobs since then. Obviously, I thought, as most of the lawyers, that my career will look like this, or to be honest, rather like this, so quite straightforward and upward coming. Little did I know that this will be the reality of my career. So I changed jobs in the public service several times. Then left for the academia. I worked as a project manager at an international NGO, started to build an organization in the cultural sphere, and ended up in my coaching business today. Looking back to my work history, it is clear that there was absolutely no strategy behind these changes or the career building path. I left my jobs because I got bored or sometimes annoyed or even angry at some of the jobs. And to be honest, I realized now that I took a great risk at several times, and most of these decisions worked out, but this is not the only way it could have happened. The only exception from this non-strategic decision-making was the last one, to decide to start to work as a coach. So what happened? Why was it different? A few years ago, I underwent a burnout phase, as several of the mid-career lawyers, I can imagine, and maybe there are some of you who know this feeling. I did not find any joy in my legal job anymore. I felt overwhelmed and even questioned whether there is any sense in being in the field of the law. So after a long time going circularly in my head, I decided that I need help to come out of this, and I turned to a coach. I entered the coaching program led by a lawyer turned coach, Kata Móroc, and it changed my work life forever. So in the end, I did not leave the law. I realized that I still love a lot of elements of that, but I redesigned my job, started new projects, and realized that I would like to be a coach that I did in my last few roles. So now, as a coach, looking back, I understand much more what happened to me and what happens to a lot of lawyers, thousands of lawyers worldwide. So why is it so complicated as a lawyer to think about our professional career and career change, or just plan it intentionally? Let's start with that I'm curious, just to start a discussion with you, that why did you decide to be a lawyer? So why did you go to the law school? If you could put it into the chat, that would be wonderful. Just a few answers. Okay, if you are shy, I list a few answers until you answer the question. So some of the lawyers, I talked to a lot of lawyers recently why they chose the law school, and also my former students, and they usually mention that I didn't know what else to do. This seemed like the best option. I am good at arguing, so everyone said that you should go to the law school and become a lawyer. I like reading and writing. This is also a typical answer. The next one is the impact. So I wanted to change the world, pursue justice, do good things in the world. And law seemed fun, especially if we look at the series in the television, and lawyers, how they look like and how they live. And of course, for a lot of people, it means that I wanted to have a secure job with a lot of money and a certain lifestyle. So these expectations are rather high, but also vague. We know today, when we are in the law field, that law is not about only writing and reading. It's not only about getting a lot of money and having the best life, but it's really hard work. It's not about pursuing justice, but working on a lot of different cases. So this is how it starts, and then we face reality. Another typical reason why it's complicated to plan is that there are only a few traditional paths, and these are the ones that are communicated when we are in the law school, and very often in the legal society they are considered as the normal law jobs, and these are quite rigid pathways. The next one, the strong identity. And I realized this only when I started to work on a career transition, and I realized how strong my identity as a lawyer is, and how hard it is to change it to anything else, because being a lawyer, you feel that you are one of the best professions, and all of the other jobs and professions are somehow regarded as lower level jobs, less intelligent people or less impactful people in the world. Obviously, it's an illusion also, but that can stop the career planning efforts. The next hurdle can be the sunk cost fallacy. So what does it mean? Especially later in your career, you always consider how much time and energy and money you spent on being there where you are. So changing it or taking up another job, even in the field of law, means that you feel that you lost a lot of time and energy, and you cannot get it back or use it when you change your career. The next one that makes it extremely hard to plan, but this is true for most of the professions, but also for law, is the constantly changing industry. I just recently was an AI training, and I realized that the lawyers there were talking about that maybe the people won't need them for a lot of tasks. So it's hard to know what the future will bring. So we try to find a secure path. And this, as you see, the other side is also on the list of hurdles or obstacles, the fear of uncertainty. So we are trained and used to that there is a certain security in the written word, in our plan, in our strategy, and accepting that there will be a change, and maybe we cannot control what will happen with us, obviously makes career planning harder. And finally, the difficulty of asking for help. I read somewhere that lawyers were trained as problem solvers. So we are the one who people come to solve their problems, to help them. And accepting that we also need help and we need advice from someone about our career is much harder than any other professions. But we are here to talk about career planning, and there should be a way. And this is important because maybe there wouldn't be a need for thinking about career if all the lawyers were the happiest people on the earth. Unfortunately, the service recently showed a totally different picture. I wrote a blog article recently on the Alkyog blog about the challenges that lawyers face. And during the research, I found several surveys from different countries, from US, UK, Canada, Australia, that showed that there are a lot of obstacles and also mental health issues that the lawyers face recently. And obviously the most important problem is the stress that they are constantly feeling, and also the overwhelming and in the end the burnout. So for example, one of the recent surveys in the US among US attorneys showed that 38% of them feel constantly stressed out, so almost half of them. In the UK, they highlighted the burnout as the highest among all the professions. And also another problem, connecting back to my previous slide, is that, for example, in the UK, 41% never talks about mental health issues in the legal profession. So they face the consequences of their stressful job alone and without talking to the boss about that. Unfortunately, I didn't find any accessible service in Hungary or from the region. If you have one, please send it to me. It's always helpful to see different geographical options, but I'm afraid that the data are similar in most of the countries around us. So let's see that what can make this career change less stressful and help us overcome these obstacles that lawyers face. So the description of my lecture was about using the design thinking in the career planning. So what is design thinking? You may heard of this because it's a more and more very fashionable method, even if it was originally mostly used by product development and service design, especially in the tech industry, but also in architecture and business innovation. So design thinking is a human-centered method, a creative problem-solving process that helps people to develop solutions, innovative solutions, by deeply understanding the needs of people they are designing for. Originally designing a product by understanding the customers. So how can we use this in career planning, and why? In the career planning, you are designing for yourself. So you will be the customer who needs the best product, in our case, the best career. There are usually 5 steps of the design thinking process, and we will go through all of that during the presentation. So the first is to emphasize. Understand the real needs and feelings and experiences of the people you are designing for. So in our case, in the career planning, that will be ourselves. We will understand ourselves, what we need to have the best career possible. The next element is to define. Based on all these self-understanding and research, we will have a very clear picture about the real problem that we are trying to solve and the goal that we would like to achieve. I will give examples for all of the steps in details later. The next element, to ideate. So we know the need, we know the goal that we would like to reach, but at this point we start to brainstorm ideas about that, how we can reach that goal. And brainstorming means that we collect all the ideas that come forward without judging them, just to open up the process and bring in as many factors as possible. After that, the prototyping part of the design thinking is super important. So in a product design, obviously they won't start by sending the plans to the factory and manufacturing millions of, for example, cell phones, but obviously they create a prototype and then they test it, because this is a risk-free or a low-risk version of the possible solutions. So now you may grasp why is it helpful also in the career planning to do a small prototype and test it before making the big leap, the big change. And the last element is the testing phase. So trying out the prototypes, gathering feedback, learning and improving the prototype. Until we go back and ideate if we see that there is a need to change the prototype. So it is important to emphasize that design thinking is not a linear process. It's really hard for us lawyers. We are used to that we can trust step-by-step logical frameworks. So design thinking is always about going back and doing these cyclical works, especially in the last 3 elements. So if a prototype shows a different result, that something is not working, we always have to go back to the ideate phase and start it again, or iterate or design. So let's see the career examples and how you can use it even today after this lecture, this methodology for your own career. So the first is to emphasize. So emphasize with yourself, deeply understanding yourself before you design your next step in the career. So what can be useful in this phase? How can we understand what we need? So in this phase, the best is to create a strong work and life compass for yourself. So compass is to show your way in your career also, like in life. It is even advisable to go back to as basic questions as, what is work for me? I don't know whether you have any time thought about that. recently or ever? Why do you work? Would you work if you would have all the money, for example, in the world? Or what makes work important for you? What do you expect from your job? So these basic questions. What are your values? So sometimes lawyers, we are much more practical than talking about values and needs. But for example, I give you a very practical examples. I left my first job because I work at the National Election Office. So every electoral cycle was the same. And after the third election, I realized that, okay, I'm bored. And it turned out when now I look back that learning is one of my values. So a job where I have to do the same process all the time is not aligned with my values. So it is really worth to go back and look at what you need in your job to be aligned with your values. And it can be anything. It can be the fairness, the social impact, but it can be also having a certain lifestyle. It can be meaningful relations, the connection, the type of work. It's totally individual what is important for you. The next one that it is worth looking into is the motivations and strengths. Maybe you have done some tests recently about your strengths, but it is worth going back and looking at that, okay, what are my strengths and whether I am using them or not in my current job, current position. This gives you a very realistic picture of your strengths that you can build on and really use intentionally in your planning process. Motivation is also important. We always expect that all the people are motivated by the same things. But if you go to a meeting at your working place and you just listen to the people and how they react to the different tasks, you will realize that all of them are motivated by different things. Some of them are motivated by the interesting tasks, others are motivated by the money that they are getting. The third person can be motivated that they can work with someone else and that other colleague will inspire them and bring the project forward. So it's important to know about yourself that whether you need inner or outer motivations to bring your career forward. Inspirations. So the best advice to find out what you want is to look, who do you envy? So people in your life who you really envy, this will show you that you would like something from very similar that person have. So think about that and write it down. And also the other side, the negative side. So who you would never exchange places with. What is that you would never want for yourself? Because sometimes this outer comparison helps you to understand yourself more than just thinking in your head and inside. And the last one that you should, among others, consider is the activities that you like. So not only you are good at, because you are good at almost everything, or you can make it better with practice, but the question is that what brings you joy. And I know, again, that joy is a term that we don't often use in law, but to be honest, if we go back, this is one of the main motivators of the humans, and also very often lawyers. So I guess if I ask you that what are the elements of your job that you would like to do, then you can list them very precisely. Another thing is to be sure about what are the work conditions that you need. because we are also have very special needs, each of us. So some of us loves to work in alone or in small settings. Others love to be in a bigger group and prefer teamwork. Some of us love to work from home. Others need to go into the office and be surrounded by people. So you have to have a very clear vision about what makes you productive and also joyful. So these are only a few examples about how to understand what you are looking for in your career or job. This is the empathize phase. If you spend some time with this self-knowledge, you will get to the define period. So it means that you will understand that what you are looking for. You will have a very clear understanding about your priorities and what aligns with your values and strengths and motivations. So based on that, and now we opened up the research, and now we closed it down by defining what you want. So we are at the second part of the design thinking process, when we open up again the options. So based on that, what you learned about yourself in this first element, so the customer of the design thinking process, yourself as the subject of the career planning, start brainstorming very freely about alternative career pathways. And I have done this process with several lawyers recently, and this is the point where their characteristic as lawyers comes really into focus. So they immediately start to restrain themselves and restrain their thinking. So brainstorming is really hard for lawyers. We try to analyze and focus always our mind. So it is better to do it with someone else or do it in a part of the day where you are more free and less restricted. Because what helps here is to have as many options as possible. Usually we can talk about that there are so many options in our life. So we could live 100 lives, but we have only one. So if you think about your career path, you can have at least 3 to 5 different options. So for example, just to give you an example, I can decide that I would be happy if I would be an in-house legal counsel in a tech company. Because I love technology and law, and I'm interested in that, and I learned it in the first phase, that would make me happy. Or I can be a director of an NGO that pursues a cause that is important to me. For example, that combats child poverty. This is also a totally realistic career field that would make me happy. Or I could be a yoga teacher and forgetting all of law. As you see, the first is very close to what I'm doing now. Not me, but the example, the person in my example. The second is a bit different, but still based on the legal skills. And the third one is when there is no restriction on money or all of the options are open. So a totally different career path. Why do we need so many options to start with? Because this will show again that all of these can work, but what we will do now in the prototyping and testing process, that we will narrow down the options. And this is when the prototyping part comes in, because what could happen? You could just give up your job at the tech company legal department and start being a yoga teacher. And there are people who do this. So I would never question these decisions, because that is totally a realistic decision. But if you are looking for a less risk-free options, then you can prototype. And you can prototype in all of the 3 options that you opened, or it can be 5 or more. Because with all the options, and now you can let your lawyer self free and ask all the questions. So you must have millions of questions. And this is an important point because recently I worked with a lawyer who had a real fear about his future. He had several options and he was not sure which one to pursue. And when we started to talk about the options, it turned out that he has a lot of questions about how it works, what are the chances to get that promotion in that job, what are the chances to keep that job for a certain period, whether he would he would enjoy that job in the long term. It turned out that he has all these questions, but he never got any information about whether these statements are true or not. So what we started and what is prototyping about, that you get information, as much information as possible, because otherwise you will be deciding on your emotions, like I did in my career changes, but not based on an intentional decision. So how can you get information about your questions? You are working in a certain job, so obviously you don't know everything about all the jobs that you are dreaming about. So there are 2 very good ways to do this prototyping. The one is to do research. So research. This is the first advice, to collect information. Collect information that is available publicly. Or the other element is to talk to people. So we very often underestimate the role of talking to people in career planning, because after the university, where our professors are there to mentor us and be there for all our questions, in the real life, we are often very shy to ask people, because we realize that they are super busy. So asking questions about what they do or how do they see the industry is wasting their time. It's not so. So there are a lot of people, fortunately, who are really good mentors and are there for younger colleagues. But even if it's not so obvious who is this person, you can try. So I usually encourage my clients to go and talk to the people. So, for example, one of my clients recently decided that she would like to pursue a product manager option, and she started to connect everyone in her network and to recommend product managers for her who she can talk to and ask about their job and get answer about how it works, what are the everyday activities, what are the prospects, and to learn about the inside of the job. Because otherwise we always have these preconceptions, and very often they are not true. So it's better to learn from someone else in advance whether that job would be really a good fit for you. Another element can be of the prototyping to do some small side projects. So to, for example, volunteer for a small project that is in that field or in that area, at that organization. So, for example, in our example, the person's second plan with directing an NGO or being part of an NGO with a very strong mission, you can go there and volunteer a small amount of your time and learn more from the inside of the NGO. It is much less risky than giving up your job and starting a full-time job there. You can also get a lot of information about the internal processes. Sometimes it turns out about companies or law firms from the inside that they are not the same from the inside, like looking from the outside. So that's another option. So everything is in this phase about, in these 3 phases, about the try before you commit part. And because there are so many options, this is a very active and very changing element of the process, because you try a prototype test, and if it doesn't work, you exclude that option. So, for example, one of my clients decided one of his options was to get up a traditional legal profession, and he was thinking about taking the bar exam. And when he talked to people from that legal profession, it became very clear that this is not something that he would like to do. So he decided not to do the bar exam, but put his energy into a different way. So this is the process. And I know that as lawyers, very often, again, we have the first feeling that, okay, but if I would base on what I would like to do, and especially if you are in a burnout, that can happen very easily, that the only thing that I would like to do is to move to Hawaii and become a surf coach there, a surf trainer. And obviously, not all of us can do that, because there are several other commitments in our life. So let's see what can be the possible results of design thinking, the design thinking process. So this is some of the lawyers who start to work with a coach on a career redesign are afraid of that they cannot allow the career change. And it doesn't mean that in certain cases it's not the only options. So especially with people who realize that they didn't want to get into the law field originally, or they didn't know anything about the law field, they really do not find themselves in that. This is the only option. And I work with clients who changed entirely. They became, for example, entrepreneur in different industries, and they are much more happier than being a lawyer. But obviously, this is the most complicated path. It needs a lot of preparation and a very strong vision about your future, but it's possible. Some of the clients, after the design thinking, realize that they love law. They love the legal field. They want to be a lawyer, but they just cannot stay at their current working place. And it can come from different factors, the lack of promotion, micromanaging boss, or the lack of respect of work-life balance, or personal priorities. So obviously, in this case, the work that you have to do in the design thinking process is to find a new job where you can, that aligns more with your priorities. And the third option, which can also happen, is when you don't want to change your career and don't want to change your job, but you realize that your job around you or the conditions changed. And sometimes these changes are not intentional. So the world is constantly changing, the work conditions changed a lot, especially during the pandemic, and maybe it's not, something is not working around you. So in this phase, and there are several options, and I will just list them because I see the time is not too much, the remaining time. So what you can do basically to redesign your current job. And I know it's also frightening, especially if you are a more traditional work environment, but sometimes you only have to try to talk to the people around you, or just to start working in a different way. So one is to one element is to reframe and re-enlist. So go back and think about why you love this job, and reframe how you approach your job, and also to re-enlist. So to decide intentionally that you would like to do the best of this job. Maybe it is just a transitional period, but that transitional period will be much better if you reframe and re-enlist your job for that and start to find the good part in that. The next one is to remodel. So to look at what causes the problem. So maybe the problem is just that you get emails at 11 p.m. and you have your boss expects you to answer that. So why not start with talking about that with your boss, and maybe they just didn't realize because they have a different lifestyle, and you can ask whether there is any chance to do that. So that just to change a small things to remodel your job. And the last one is to relocate. So this is the shifting without the same organization. So maybe your job is not fitting you the best now, but there is another job in your organization or company that would be a better fit. So you can start design thinking towards that job, picking up small projects, talking to colleagues there, and maybe you can do that. Recently, I saw someone at a big work with someone at a big tech company to shift to a different department to find new challenges until she can change her job and pick up a better one at a different company. So good news or bad news, design thinking is this process, but during your career you will do it several times. There are no decisions that are forever. So we are not anymore in the era where you will retire from the same job or same career, maybe even at the age of 65. So most probably you will do this design thinking process several times during your career. So this is why it is wise to learn about that and try it for the first time, because every time you can go back to the same tools. Maybe you don't have to go back to the basic questions that what is work for you, because maybe that will be a constant characteristic, but you can start and ideate, prototype, and test your ideas before the next change. So I would like to encourage you to after the presentation in the next 48 hours, so 2 days, to do at least one thing for your career. Based on where you are now and what are the challenges that you face, you can go back and think about the basics, to think about that why you chose law, whether you are still believing in law, what are the fields in law that you are really interested in, and whether you are working in that field. Or if you know that you are aiming for something else, whether it is a new career, a new job, or new tasks, new challenges, new people around you, new clients, then think about it. What are the options that you can open up, and what are the next action steps, and start it in the next 2 days. If you do this and write to me, I would be really happy to hear that. And one more thing, if you don't want to do this process alone, I am here for you. I have a program that is working with lawyers with the design thinking methods. So it can be a group program or an individual program based on your preference. And the next group will start in May. So if you need support, then you can find all the details on my website, and I would love to work on you and redesign your legal career and help you to find joy again with your legal job. And you can connect me anytime. So I hope that I will hear from you, and I'm looking very much forward to your questions.
Okay, thanks for your presentation, Esther. I am super proud that we could host this discussion because this is a really pressing issue nowadays. We have a lot of burned out legal professionals who approach us to help them change jobs, and they often do not even realize that their urge to change jobs maybe immediately often might be caused by some underlying issue they don't even realize. So I just want to assure anyone who might be feeling the same that this is a really common issue and not something you cannot face. So I'm really happy that you also recommended a first step. That would have been my first question, but my second question is then, if I'm feeling burnt out and looking for some remedies or some solutions, how long should I wait? And not how long should I wait, but rather how long would this process look like? Yeah, I see that there's no end, so it should be a cycle, or I should reiterate as I'm going on. But how long should I hold on till my career is at a better stage?
Yes, so burnout is really a hard and a complicated question with a lot of different aspects. I should start with that there are several tools available publicly that can help you to analyze yourself, whether you are in a burnout or you are just tired, because that can also help. So burnout is usually a state where you are in a constant fatigue, and you lose your joy, and usually it is connected to your work and your job. And in certain cases, if it's deeper, so the longer you wait for us for help, it will be the stronger support you need. So there are certain phases where you really need mental health support, and I really encourage that. I usually also recommend it to the clients, even if they come to a coach to coach them out of this state to solve the mental health part of that. And it is also important because very often, if you are burnt out, and I know it from my personal experience, you don't want to plan your future. So you just really want to be away from everything and travel around the world and be alone and without a plan. So I know that I don't want to plan. I don't have to want to have a calendar and agenda or a coaching session either. So you first have to solve that and come out of that, and then you can you can start building up the future. And this will be twofold, basically. So you have to figure out what is the next step for you, but you also have to learn the tactics to avoid burnout for the next time, and build a work style and also lifestyle that helps you to not to come back to the same state after a few years.
So, as with many things, we should plan for the long term and sustainability here as well. And for that, we talked about one aspect, time, and I want to mention another rather important aspect, namely money. And what do you think? How should one balance financial security needs with pursuing a career that might be more meaningful? And just to give a personal example, when I quit my trainee lawyer job, which at the time had a really nice salary, and it was on a really nice career track, and I quit because I felt that I just have to start working on Ars Boni, and at the time I had no financial planning, and on the long term it worked out, but it caused me some super stressful months or even years. So how should one handle this financial aspect of career planning?
Yes, this is a super important question, and it's also connected to your previous question, because if you wait too long, then you will just quit. Because you are so fed up with everything that's happening around you that you just cannot stay there for any longer and do these steps to make your transition easier. So the earlier you realize that there is a time for change, the more you can prepare for your change. So as you can imagine from my presentation, I do not believe anymore this burning all the bridges behind us and just shutting the door behind us and leaving the job. The first step is always try to look at whether you can repair your job, but if you realize and not, then to prepare for the next step. And one element of that is this financial preparation that you mentioned. Obviously, based on your plans and what you realize you would like to do, there are different levels of security that you have to create for yourself in this transitional period, and that will make your change much more risk-free and also much more intentional.
And one more, just a little personal story. And my question is that how should one handle the reactions of his friends or even family when they present their plans for a career change? Because I remember, I can even remember the phone call that I had with my parents when I told them that okay, I'm going to quit now, and they always supported me, but on the phone they were like, you think this is a good idea? And I felt like, how could they even say this? So how could this be their reaction? And looking back years from now, I and being a parent myself now, I think that was the right first reaction by them, and they asked the questions I didn't ask myself, namely taking into consideration the possible risk. So how should one, or how should you talk with your family or with your friends about your plans of maybe about a drastic career change?
Absolutely. So we are not living on an island. So we are surrounded by people who are observing our life and supporting us in that. And you mentioned the friends and family, but this is also a question in the bigger society and especially the profession around us. So let's start with the friends and family. I know the feeling. So when I left my job in public service to go back to the university, that was really in my family's eye step back, because it was much more cool to tell that you are working with public service than to be as a lecturer. But eventually, I know that that's why it's important to prepare your change, especially internally, to know why you are doing what you are doing, because most probably they won't understand for the first time, not your parents, not your friends, and especially not the profession, and especially your former colleagues. So if you have to be sure in yourself that this will lead to somewhere, and so this is the self-knowledge work that I talked about in the emphasize project, that you have to understand what motivates you and what you expect from the change. And obviously you can talk about this. So with the friends and family, this is the best option, that you can tell them that why you are doing this, and ask them to trust you and trust the process, because very often the results come only a few months later, when they see that you are much more happier in a new job or new career than you were before. With the profession and bigger society, I experienced that there are three types of person. One is totally supportive, and they understand because they are suffering the same disadvantages very often. So in that case, it's really a good feedback to see that, yeah, they are really proud of you, that you managed to do that they are just dreaming of. The next one, who don't understand you, but they are curious. So you can talk with them about that and explain them, and eventually they will understand. And the third type of people who will always reject you for that. And because maybe because internally they feel the same and they are not brave enough to admit, or maybe they have a totally different map of the world, and they cannot respect yours. In that way, you can decide whether you would like to talk to them or let them go. That's also your decision. But this is your life, so it is a great final word, I guess. So your decision and your purpose that drives you. So you have to align with that.
Yeah, as we head to the end of our time here, those were really nice words for closing remarks. So thank you, Esther, for your presentation, and everyone else for joining us this afternoon. So we unfortunately have to end our session here as we are heading to our next one, which we will send you the link for in the chat below, so you can attend by clicking there. And I do hope that we can continue this event in some form or another. And I do believe that our audience would agree with me on this one. So thank you again, Esther, and we are signing off now. Thanks everyone for joining us, and goodbye. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you so much, Vanatek.
Bye.